Dun 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 dun. Hello everyone, and welcome to BHD Studios, and welcome to my unboxing. Oh, that's too much glare there. Let's put this like, there you go. Welcome to my unboxing of the SL3-S. Now I know a lot of the other YouTubers that got early copies had pre-production units and had months to play with it. I've had no time to play with it, but I do get to do the unboxing, which is, I don't know, it's just as fun, isn't it? Here we go, look at that. Now this is my third Leica unboxing in the last couple of days, but I haven't posted the other videos, so wait for those videos. But it seems like Leica's gone to this brown cardboard outer box, and then this kind of matte interior box, so looks sweet. Alright, so this is the outside box here, Leica SL3-S. I'm not going to go over the specs. You could just go to B&H. Alright, let's figure out which way here. Leica, okay, alright, let's pull this up. Bada bang, yeah, it's the same sort of setup here with this white cardboard inlay. And it seems like the paper is more matte on the inside. And look at that. And here this is the SL2. Unfortunately, I don't have an SL3 because, well, I just don't have an SL3, but similar design language. It has, as I was talking to Andreas Kaufman a few years ago, he called this like the brutalist design. When the R series was eventually discontinued, they said that Leica immediately started thinking about what would replace that R series. And they were seriously considering going DSLR.
Especially I'm running around at the moment with the SL2-S. Yeah, and with this smaller zoom lens, the 2470, because it's easier for traveling. I think that was a huge design step because we wanted to get something more brutal looking. Because the predecessor was our R system, which we stopped in 2009, and there was a huge time lag in between 2009 until 2016. And then we said in the design process, and it did take quite long, so these kind of design processes take over a year. It has to look as a huge step, 2 or 3 steps ahead, and I think we made it possible because it's still a sort of more brutal statement by Leica.
But in the end, they decided to go mirrorless, but still have that brutalist, kind of that DSLR kind of design language, and you can definitely see that from the original SL, the Type 601 that was cut out of a solid piece of aluminum, to the SL2, and now here the SL3. Now this is the S version, and so just like the SL2 and the SL2S, the S version, I think S stands for speed. It's more video centric, will be lower megapixels, so this is 24 megapixels versus the SL3, which has 60 megapixels. So this one here is 24 megapixels. Is it the same as the SL2S? I don't think so, because there's quite a bit of a spec jump, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But again, like I said, in this video, I'm gonna kind of focus on the unboxing experience and not talk too much about numbers and such, because you could check out other videos for that. Oh, and also congratulations to Gajan Balan, a fellow Canadian YouTuber, content creator, videographer, photographer, very talented guy, as well as my friend, and he was part of the global launch of the SL3-S. He's had it for, I think he said 6 months, and so check out his video, I'll link it down below. But he's an awesome guy, and I'm glad that he was able to basically put this camera to the test and see if it actually works out for him. And I always knew the SL3-S would eventually come out, and when it did, I thought someone like Gajan would be perfect for it, and so I'm super excited for him. So that's this here. I don't think there's anything else in here. No, that's it. I think that's it. Let me just, yeah, that's it. And have this little card here, shows you who examined the camera, and so whoever that is there, and then finally who packed the camera. So a little bit of a human touch to your product, which is nice. And I've been to Wetzlar many times, as well as a factory in Porto, Portugal. You get to meet the people who get to assemble these cameras, put them together, test them, as well as package and box them. And so these Leica still comes out with physical manuals. Even though it's like a quick manual, it's still nice to have a paper copy. And so warranty information, software information, and here we go, SL3-S. And obviously it has multiple languages, so you're not getting more than maybe, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10 pages, but it's nice to have this breakdown, right? So we have that. And then you have the two, wow, this is so similar to the Q343 unboxing experience. So we have two boxes in here. You have this box here. On this side, you get the battery, the new higher capacity battery, the same battery that's in the Q3 and the Q343 and the SL3. You get this wider foam neck strap. They're good, but I just would rather put my own straps on there. And then this box here probably just has cables. So let's just check this out here. Yeah, you get that really expensive high-end USB-C to C, and it even says, if you can, it even says Leica. And these cables, these aren't just standard USB-C cables. You know that even with Apple, when you buy their premium Thunderbolt USB-C cables, they're quite expensive, and so these are premium. So let's just put this in here, and that's it. That is the unboxing experience. Alright, so let's put the battery in. It's probably not going to be charged, but let's just see what happens. Alright, so press this button here. Nope, not charged. So what I'm going to do is, I'll be right back. I have a Q3, and so let's grab the battery from the Q3. Same battery anyways, and I will start charging this battery here. Now I'll pop it in, and let us turn it on. Right? Oh yeah. I love this. Oh yeah. Look at that. And you know, Leica creates their own fonts. And then you pick your language, and then from here you should use the app. And so I will set this up a little bit later. There's not much more to talk about. I was in VetStar last year when they launched the SL3, and in terms of the body, it's identical to the SL3. Internally, there are some differences besides the sensor, and that's really the big thing. This camera is a hybrid type camera where it does video really well, and one key feature in video is that it has 6K open gate internal recording and up to 5.9K 12-bit raw video. You can output via USB-C to an SSD hard drive, but as well internally you do have the CF Express card. So here I have one. If you are using high capacity cards, you want to go CF Express. You don't want to go SD anymore. Look at the speeds. This one here is a 1 terabyte card, 1600 read, 1300 write. You can't get SD cards that are reading and writing at that kind of speed. And so I would, for me personally, I'd rather have it be writing internally. Here you go. So this is the SD card. Click in, and there you go. That's it. Now I have 1 terabyte of memory with the ultra high speed SD card type 2 slot on the other side over here. But if you're doing any of that fast throughput, you're definitely going to be using the CF Express card or an external hard drive. And also internally, yeah, you do have that content credentials that is in the M11P and the M11D. And I think in the future, that is going to be kind of the way to go, the content credentials. Also, this is IP54 rated, and that is rated by an external company, not by Leica. And so if you need a camera that is robust, that you can take it into all types of weather conditions, either hot or cold, again, a camera like this, and man, it looks really good blacked out, doesn't it? I mean, I do... Sometimes you wish that it doesn't say Leica on here, as cool as it is. People notice the name, and when I have this camera, people always say, oh, that's a nice camera, because they see the red dot and they see Leica. This one here, you still have the red dot, but having that Leica blacked out looks pretty sweet. I'm not going to go over the specs of comparing this to the SL2. I mean, I have this sheet right here, right? You can either screenshot it or go to Leica. They're going to have all these spec comparisons. I'm here to put Camera West because they do have the SL2S kit. Go to the website, but it is a kit that you can get the SL2S where it includes the adapter. So you can adapt M-mount lenses. Now this is the Light Lens Lab one, which I love because you can activate the helicoid and get really close focusing. I have a dedicated video on using this lens here. So this lens is, like most Leica lenses, 0.7 for minimum focus, but with the helicoid adapted, I can get to like 10.6 inches, so like under 30 centimeters with this helicoid. But you do get the standard Leica adapter to M mount, and it does have that 6 bit reader. So whatever lens you have, if you have a 6-bit lens, it will know what lens you put on there, and which is pretty sweet. And this adapter does not do that. But Camera West says that actually the SL2S is selling very well for them, and it is actually from Leica. It has a full Leica warranty, and it is like under $3,000. It's like half off. And so the SL2S is selling well. I think the SL3-S will also sell well, especially if you are doing a lot of video type content. Now, some people are going to look at this and say, oh, that's just another Panasonic. And I hate when people say that because, you know, like even the Nikon Z8 and the Z9, no one says, oh, look, that's another Sony A1. I mean, Sony makes the sensors for tons of camera manufacturers. Like, for instance, Fujifilm no longer makes their own sensors. All their sensors, pretty much all their sensors, are sourced by Sony, but it's made to their spec. And so this sensor here, we don't know exactly. It shares the same sensor probably with the Panasonic S5-2X, and it has very similar specs, but you know, that makes sense because you're going to utilize that sensor and all the different specs it has, which includes open gate, as well as 30 frames per second and all those other features that the Panasonic has. But this is not a Panasonic. This is made in Germany. It's IP54 rated. It has the CF Express Type B card. It has a high resolution EVF. It uses Leica's own color science. It uses their own Maestro 4 processor and the design language. Very, very different. And I actually, for this, you know, I'm not a videographer, so I prefer this type of articulating screen. I don't like the swing out type. If you are a videographer, maybe you prefer the swing out, but I don't. I prefer this. And one thing Leica does is, you know, they show you like, look, you can hold this camera from the LCD screen. Like there's a video where they show, I can't remember how many times, 10,000 times a robot is basically moving this in and out. It is a little bit more rigid than most articulating screens. Same with the Q3. It's a little bit more rigid. You got to kind of grab it from the bottom. But one thing that Leica shows is, hey, you can hold it like this. Very few camera manufacturers would test their articulating screen to that type of extent. And with this articulating screen, it's still IP54 rated. And I don't know any camera manufacturer that makes IP54 rated cameras. I mean, maybe there is. You tell me down below in the comments, but it's very rare. And so, you know, who is this camera for? It's not for Sony or Canon shooters. If you're a Sony shooter, you're a Canon shooter, you already know what you like. And, you know, those brands make fantastic cameras. The advantage of going with the SL2S, if you do need it for video as well as for stills, is that it's part of the L Mountain Alliance. So you're also working with Panasonic, you're working with Sigma, DJI, Blackmagic, and other manufacturers are joining. So Canon makes beautiful stuff, Sony makes beautiful stuff, third-party manufacturers also make lenses in those mounts as well as Nikon Z. But having, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 manufacturers coming together to work on a single mount, there's a lot of advantage to it. So if you don't buy the SL2S, you're like, I'm gonna get a Panasonic S5-2X. That's great, but you can still end up buying. This is the 35 Apple Summicron L mount, and there, you know, Leica has the 28 Summicron Apple, the 35 Summicron Apple, the 50 Summicron Apple, 75 Summicron Apple, and the 90mm Summicron apochromatic lenses. So apochromatic lenses are pretty rare even amongst other manufacturers, and when they do put apochromatic technology, it's usually in their super telephoto primes and zoom lenses. So for Leica to have these primes from 28 to 90 in the Summicron, yes, this is a big lens, but this is the sharpest 35mm lens that I've ever used. The next closest one is the Summicron Apo M mount. Like, you know, you have autofocus with this. So sure, get a Panasonic, put a Leica lens on there. Get a Leica body, put a Panasonic lens on there, or a Sigma lens. And of course with DJI, who knows what they're going to create. I say if DJI is going to make an interchangeable lens camera, it's probably going to be in an L mount. As well as the beautiful Sigma prime lenses and zoom lenses, you're buying into a really cool ecosystem. And so this camera is for whoever wants it. You know, the tactility, the feel of this camera, I've met people who kind of didn't think much about the SL system until I actually put it in their hands, and as soon as they feel it, they're like, wow. And I always use the story of my buddy Kyle, who bought the Panasonic S1R and loved it and said, oh, it's way better than the SL2. It has articulating screen, has all these buttons, and as soon as he held the SL2 in his hands, he immediately sold his S1R and he bought himself an SL2 because of that tactility, the way it felt in his hand, and the way it kind of motivated him to want to go and shoot with this camera. And so I'm not gonna go over specs and numbers and why you should buy this or not buy it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. It's not for you. But don't knock people who want to buy this camera for whatever reason they have. Like if you're already in the Leica ecosystem, you already have a Q, you already have an M, you want to put your lenses on, you're sure you can put M mount lenses on a Sony or a Canon or Nikon, but it's nice to have the same user interface. It's nice to have the same brand. To be honest, it's nice to be part of the Elmon Alliance, knowing that you have these other manufacturers invested in this mount. But in the end, it doesn't really matter what camera you use. And I wrote something down that I kind of wanted to talk about. So this is what I said. I said, if you have the talent and the drive to create something of value, you can master any camera system. A camera is just a tool that you must learn to bend to your will. And because of that, choosing the right camera system that you enjoy using should be your biggest consideration, not just a list of boring clinical specification. That's for amateurs. Master whatever is in your hands and it will become an extension of yourself. And so that's my message to anyone who spends way too much time looking at camera specs and numbers. Just buy whatever you can afford, buy whatever you want, and once you get it, stop looking at other camera systems. Just enjoy what you have, master what you have. In the end, you want to be able to take great photos, but at the same time, enjoy the equipment that you are using. And so this camera is for someone. If it's not for you, then it's not for you. But let's just close off by putting this 35 Apple lens on here. And I think this is going to be an amazing camera for low light photography. Bang, look at that. Look how beautiful this camera is. Now this is a huge lens. Obviously you don't need to put a 35 Apple. The standard 35 Summicron aspheric is quite a bit shorter than this lens here. As well, like I said, you can put a Panasonic or Sigma lens on here instead. You can even put APS-C lenses because the Leica CL and the T and the TL all were APS-C. And as soon as you put this on this L mount, which was originally actually called the T mount, it knows that it's APS-C and it will crop in for you. And so you got lots of lens options for the SL. I'm super excited. Again, check out Gadgen's YouTube videos as well as the official Leica videos and see the kind of things you can do. I don't know yet if this camera is for me, to be honest. I love shooting with the SL2. I never got the SL2-S because, again, I'm not really video centric, but this camera does kind of intrigue me. ISO 200,000 sounds pretty crazy, as well as the ability to shoot 48 and 96 megapixel images by that handheld multi-shot mode. I kind of want to give that a test and see if that's something I can pull off. I mean, your subject must be reasonably still to do that, but even still, 48, 96, and then in general, you're shooting 24 with high ISO performance. That's pretty sweet. And so thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions down below, but I don't know much about this camera other than I think it looks cool. And I do look forward to getting my review copy, and I will get back to you a little bit later. So thanks for watching and happy shooting.